I will do what I must.
You will try.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the greatest scenes of all time. And you know what it is. I'll rewatch some of the greatest moments from film that I can remember in my lifetime that have had an impact on me. And today is no different. It's one of the most fire things. Obviously, you could see in the background, I'm a Star Wars fan. And this is one of those scenes, man, that just like, for me, defined the entire Skywalker saga, if you want to, use that term. And, joining me on this, I have another guest on Great Scenes of All Time is my boy Dawson. What's good, man?
What's up, dude? I gotta tell you, when you told me we were gonna be talking about this scene in particular, I want people out there to understand how much of my childhood this scene is in Revenge of the Sith. Like, the prequel trilogy in general was my childhood. Like, when episode 3 came out, I was about 2005, so I was like 8 years old, right? And I followed all the promotional material. I got as many of the action figures from that release of the movie as I could. Like, that was the peak of cinema for me at that point. And still to this day is one of the best cinematic experiences I have ever witnessed. It is the only movie that I have sat down in a theater and cried during.
Yeah.
To this day.
I feel you, man. I feel you. No. As if you didn't know, Anakin versus Obi-Wan, the end of pretty much the last chapter of Revenge of the Sith, pretty much the last chapter of the prequel trilogy is what this is. And there's so much that's riding on this particular lightsaber fight, because we all know there's A New Hope, the conversation between Obi-Wan and Luke when he tells him, Darth Vader killed your father. All of this shit, all of those things, like, make this so powerful. And I will tell you this, you could say what you want about the prequel trilogy. I know a lot of people don't like it. There's a lot of people who do this. Some people are indifferent on it, whatever. I think the way they wrapped it up with this movie was absolutely fire. And this scene was pivotal. I can imagine George Lucas, when he first started writing episode 1, that he knew when he got to episode 3, he had a task on his hands. Like, he had to make the fight between Obi-Wan and Anakin be such a thing to where, like, you could see going forward why they behave as they do. Even though it's the time they have together in A New Hope is very, very small. It's we're well versed on that, but like, you had to push that across. You had to make the audience believe that, these two characters, the reason why they're like this here is because of this. And I think it was brilliant. The choreography was absolutely incredible. I had never seen lightsaber fighting as fast as it was in this. I mean, it was really great. Yeah. And I know we got the episode 2, Attack of the Clones, like, when they you had all the Jedi at the end, and it was fire. Yeah. But not like this. This was something different. This was two kings of the craft, like, fighting each other, man.
In my opinion, I feel like when you're writing a story, I know a lot of writers tend to say this, there's a part of the story you're really excited to get to that's later on in what you're trying to do. You have to have the setup. You have to have everything that builds up to that moment that you're excited to write. Yes. I'm willing to bet that this battle between Obi-Wan and Anakin was that moment for him in Star Wars. Start off with the original trilogy because they didn't have the technology to pull off the prequels and the story they wanted to do. And the whole time he's thinking, okay, there's a way there's a reason that Anakin ends up in the suit. And I'm sure he was just looking at the chops to get to that point. And that's one thing that excited me the most as a kid, because up until that point, I'd only had my dad's fan theories as to why Anakin was in the suit. My dad always told me growing up, I think a lot of people thought this too, actually, was that Anakin became so corrupted by the dark side that his body started to deteriorate. And so that was always my headcanon for years. Yeah. And then that movie came along. And it's like, oh my gosh, it's even more devastating than I thought it was. Bro, and it worked so well.
It did. And look, we're about to take a look at this fire scene. Yes. Obviously, one of the greatest scenes of all time. But like, the actual shock of it for me, even, and look, I was a bit older than you were when you saw it. Like, he said, I have the high ground. Don't try it, Anakin. And he did. And we saw the results of that. I was like, oh my, you know what I'm saying? Like that shit hit.
That's one moment that I look at when people say Star Wars is for kids. I was like, hold on. This guy had 2 legs and 1 arm chopped off and was burnt to a crisp. Like, don't tell me that is like a kid thing. Like, if I were any younger and I saw that, I probably would have been a little traumatized by that.
Yeah, dude.
To be quite honest.
It does, and I appreciate it. Like once I saw it and had time to process that, I appreciated it so much more because I'm like, he didn't hold any punches. George Lucas didn't. He just literally was like, let me show you. And I think he may have been himself, like as he did that, holding his breath a bit as to how this was going to be received. It was dope, and oh man, it's just such a fire scene. And like you said, it's on Mustafar. We already know the surroundings. We all know the backdrop. We know why the scene is happening. Obviously, Palpatine sends Anakin to Mustafar to finish negotiations.
For lack of a better term.
To finish them. And then obviously, you
the negotiations were short.
Yeah, yes, for sure. And then obviously Padme shows up and we see what unfolds there. We're about to watch the scene in a second. Now when I clip this, I did keep in some key stuff that's not Anakin and Obi-Wan. It's Palpatine and Yoda that I kept in there because I just felt that one of the reasons why this scene is absolutely incredible is because it does switch back to Yoda and Palpatine and that deal that they have to take care of because of what's happened in the movie. Like,
and those two fights intersecting at the same time gave longtime Star Wars fans everything they ever wanted. They wanted to see a young Anakin and Obi-Wan facing off when Anakin's Darth Vader, and they want to see Yoda in his prime face off against the ultimate Sith Lord, Darth Sidious. Like, you watch the original trilogy and you think, well, Yoda's such a powerful Jedi, I want to see him in action. You saw a little bit in Attack of the Clones, but you didn't see him fight freaking Emperor Palpatine.
Yeah.
And then you got it in this.
Yeah, you did. And so that's why I chose to like not clip that out when I was clipping the scene, because I think that makes the scene even better. That's one like, and obviously, look, the music is fire. The visuals are absolutely incredible. What's the word I'm looking for? The tension is just there from the get.
I have a feeling that they had the fight take place on Mustafar to kind of mimic the scene of the room where they played the music for the scene, because everything was on fire because of how amazing the music was. They're like, let's make the fight look exactly like it is with this orchestra. Everything's ablaze. Let's just make it a fire planet.
And a little bit of like once I owned that. This was back when it came out on DVD. Once I owned Revenge of the Sith, like I watched the special features and just watching the two actors just. Hayden and Ewan like go through the practice for the thing. It was just, and then talking about just like how many, if you notice the attire that they're wearing, like Anakin's suit had like there was like 15 of them. One of them started fresh, and then they had to add like the little droplets of lava and things that hit their, and it's put together so perfectly. And you know what? Let's just go ahead and get into this right now. All right, let me get this pulled up. Let's see.
I noticed the Mandalorian Funko Pop behind you. I just got the first issue of the Mandalorian, and it's basically the first episode verbatim, but it's awesome.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. One of the greatest scenes of all time: Anakin Skywalker versus Obi-Wan Kenobi from Revenge of the Sith, and it's dope. Here we go.
Let's go.
I have brought peace, freedom, justice, and security to my new empire.
This shot.
Dude, it's
like Obi-Wan is his conscience trying to talk some sense into him.
To the Republic, to democracy. If you're not with me, then you're my enemy.
That's a dope line.
In this shot too, the sky behind him, how the clouds are moving.
Bro, the sun is barely visible. Look at it.
You will try.
Let's get it.
My theater erupted when this started. The behind the back.
No, it's. Oh, here we go.
My theater also died laughing with that moment too.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah.
it's subtle humor like that that's so great.
You have, Emperor. Or should I call you Darth Sidious?
Master Yoda. You
I like how homeboy bails right here. He just
Stand there like, this is awkward.
yeah.
Arrogance blinds you, Master Yoda. Now you will experience the full power.
Yo, I kind of always hated how he caught him off guard right there.
Yeah, I guess the electricity shot fast. He smashed it out. Like, gosh. I love how Obi-Wan's like in defensive mode most of the time, which perfectly illustrates the difference between Sith and Jedi. I wonder what's going through Obi-Wan's head when he saw all those bodies in there. Like, holy crap, there's more people that you killed?
Yeah, for real.
Time for this.
This line too.
Yeah.
My little green friend.
It's like, kick your
Yeah.
butt, Will.
Yeah, for real.
That's Yoda's Hancock moment.
Yeah.
Alas, the Jedi are no more.
I love how they did Yoda in the prequels, honestly.
Yeah, yeah.
The CGI aged a little bit, but like it still looks pretty good.
Yeah, no, it still looks dope.
So powerful you are. Why leave? Faith in your
I love how he brings his lightsaber out.
Yeah, yeah.
So unique.
I think more impressive than Yoda himself is his clothes look fire, dude. Like the CG with his like his
The
robe and
texture
shit.
is
Yeah,
and the challenges of fighting a CGI character too, like
yeah. This, on the other hand, just fucking
brute force.
yeah.
In a moment, we'll see one moment that I wondered about as a Star Wars fan for years as to how it would work. Because my brother and I, we would play lightsaber battles all the time in the backyard. We both wanted to do the Force at the same time. We always wondered, how would that work? What would happen in that situation? Yoda just fighting.
Yeah.
Oh, the lighting. It's just them both
Speed, man, the
listening.
speed.
This.
Yeah,
My young head exploded. I was like, thank you, they did it.
yeah.
And it makes sense.
Yeah, this is when it gets wild.
Oh, yeah. I love how every, like, warning system in the galaxy is that same sound.
Yeah, this is insane.
Oh, my goodness. Like, you never saw Force usage at this level in the
Yeah,
original
for
trilogy
real.
at all. And it goes even further to show you what was lost to the galaxy.
Yeah. I do love this scene. This is this little shots fired.
Like, ah, crap.
Yeah.
Did it with both regular Force push and with lightning.
Yeah.
Oh. I always love the look of the scratches here.
Yeah, dude, that's just also like they're both like it's such a parallel, man.
Like, it's two yin and yang situations happening at the exact same time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I can credit this shot right here to so many moments where I fell trying to balance on something.
Yeah.
This droid's like, oh, crap.
It's also like Deep within this battle is y'all were cool 1 movie ago, bro. What happened? You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean?
A lot of crap went down.
Yeah, man. Oh,
that shot. That as the shot for the cover of the movie and the cover of the video game, like an iconic shot.
That's it. The thumbnail for this will be that shot.
Oh yeah, as it should be.
Yeah.
I would have questioned your judgment if it wasn't.
Then he's
I already made it. It's that shot.
Yes, sir.
I sense Lord Vader is in danger.
Another crazy thing about this fight scene right here is that they're literally surrounded with green or blue screens.
Yeah.
And yet you still get the orange lighting. You have all of everything blend together so well in 2005. I mean, people give George Lucas crap for how much CGI and blue screen he used in the prequel trilogy, but even today, like, some films can't blend it as well as his films did.
This was dope. I like this. Fail.
Into exile. I must go. Failed. I have.
I always wanted to know more about his reasonings.
Yeah.
That I didn't quite fully understand.
Yeah, because he did go into exile pretty swiftly. Like, he was just like, that was a swift decision he made. Yeah.
I imagine in Obi-Wan's head, he's just like, dude, we're like about to fall off a lava waterfall right now. Maybe hold off for a second, trying to cut my heels off. These shots too. On top This moment right here just shows just how good Anakin was.
Yeah.
He's so cool under pressure. Like, he's literally about to fall off a lava volcano. He's like, you know what? I'm just going to run up this thing. And I know something's there. Good. Oh. This part of the video game, too, was also super intense.
Oh, yeah. The bit. Yeah, let me do something real quick.
I have failed you, Anakin. I have failed you.
Lower.
There we go.
Oh, the Jedi were plotting to take over. Anakin, Chancellor Palpatine is evil.
We all know this.
It's like you all lost.
Like, Obi-Wan just speaks for everyone else.
Yeah, see, yeah, dude. It's like,
it's like, dude, you're being played.
Yeah.
This is the end for you, my master.
People give Hayden crap for his acting, but his look of hatred is so genuine,
no, dude,
so organic.
This entire scene, I'm like, yo. Well.
It's over, Anakin. I have the high ground. You underestimate my power. Don't try it.
There's just so much years of training behind that interaction.
Yeah, I'm telling you, when I saw that for the first time, I was like,
my jaw hit the floor. I was like, because Anakin was like my favorite part of the prequels. Anakin's my favorite character ever. Yeah, and so seeing him cut down like that, I was like, no. Even though I knew it had to happen.
Yeah.
You were the chosen one. It was said that you would destroy the Sith, not join them. Bring balance to the Force.
And it makes sense why his eyes changed in that moment.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
Because he fully gave into the rage with Obi-Wan. I mean, it shows you before he was holding back at least a teeny bit inside. But there he's like, dude, you just sliced me up. No.
I love it all, man. I remember people clowning on him for that particular that line he just made. Like I'm like, yo, dude, that conveys so much emotion. It's absolutely incredible, man.
The music here.
Yeah. This is when I was like, George Lucas took it to the next level. All right.
This broke my heart.
Yeah. Yeah, hell, fucking Obi-Wan couldn't even watch. He was just like, oh.
And then his robot arm being exposed.
Yeah.
Oh man. That just breaks your heart every freaking time.
All right, you guys. Yeah, there it is. There's in a minute we're gonna go through a couple of screenshots from the actual scene, but you know, if you as you can see on both Dawson and mine's reactions, this scene it's incredible because, like we said before we even watched it, there was connective tissue that needed to happen between these movies, and this did it perfectly. It did it more than perfectly. The fact that, like you said before, the way he chopped Anakin down and then he caught on fire afterwards, bro. I'm like, this hits. So when you get to the particular scene before all of the shows we've gotten and things of that nature, when you get to the scene in A New Hope where they're fighting on the Death Star, you feel that hatred. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can actually feel that. And obviously there's been some changes to that because we've seen like the Obi-Wan series and things of that nature. But initially, this is it's heavy. It's a very, very heavy.
It was more satisfying than I think Star Wars fans are ready for. Like, they knew that there was going to be connectivity. They knew they had to end things well to lead into A New Hope, but to end on such a satisfying note.
Yes.
Like, honestly, Revenge of the Sith is the reason why a lot of people look back fondly on the prequel trilogy. Like, I love episode 1, but episode 1 had its issues. Episode 2 definitely had its issues.
Yes.
But episode 3, for a lot of people, saved the prequel trilogy, and it saved a lot of Star Wars, because that scene, those two fights right there, in my opinion, are peak Star Wars. That is lightsaber battle and force usage at its best, at its most brutal, at its most heated moment in those two fight scenes together. And the fact, like you said, the fact that they overlap just makes it that much better. Yeah,
and just the fact that I know you and Hayden were just like like I was talking about earlier, like some of the behind the scenes stuff. They knew that. They knew the weight that scene carried, and that's why it's such a good. Even the way where I chose to clip it to start it, and it's you know, you will try. It's such a fucking. It's so good, dude. The dialogue in it. It literally, like, it fits the scene so well. He's like, my new empire. He's like, your new empire. My allegiance is to the Republic. Like, all of that stuff, it just made it's almost like you were saying earlier. Like, George was like, when I get to this particular scene, woo, I can't wait to damn put, you know.
He's just writing and sparks are flying out of his pen just because of how fire the freaking scene is.
Yeah, because he knows how many people were waiting to see that connective tissue between episode 3 and 4 and like what led to this and that. And it's done perfectly here. Even what I didn't show in the scene was, obviously, it starts off, you see Padme on the ground. That interaction between Anakin and Padme is dope as well, because she's like, you know, talking to him as though she doesn't want to believe what she's heard from Obi-Wan, and she's like, he said you killed younglings, and he pretty much is like, I did that. Yeah, I did that. You know, not in those words, but he was pretty much like, yo, like I've turned.
He didn't deny it.
Yes, exactly. And then obviously the fight choreography, dude. That shit is. Whew. Let's take a look. So here we go. Here, obviously, you see Anakin giving a swift kick to Obi-Wan.
Giving a Spartan kick.
Yes. I will say that leading up to this particular point, this entire scene, I had never seen a lightsaber battle that fast. I had never seen like lightsabers being used in that mentality where it was just like, you know what I mean? And George Lucas came back because a lot of people had questions about why weren't they like this in, you know, the OG trilogy. He was like, well, this was the Jedi in their heyday, so this is why they're so proficient with these weapons. But
like there's story reasons and there's also technical reasons too. Like you just said, this is the Jedi when they're at their peak, when they were literally training every day, when they had a Jedi Academy, right?
Yes,
it was the thing. And then also the fact that in the filming of the original trilogy, like they couldn't make lightsabers as durable as they could now.
No.
Like they make literal lightsabers for on-set shooting of these scenes nowadays. Or back then they were just kind of like very skinny PVC pipe, almost sort of like glass-like things.
There's in the if you haven't seen Empire of Dreams, it's the behind the scenes of the original Star Wars trilogy. They say that on there. They say we're making a New Hope that they kept breaking the lightsabers because it, you know, obviously it sticks or whatever. But so this is on a different level where like they could actually contact each other with them and they wouldn't break. So like, you know,
and if they did, they had like 30 different duplicates on set, and you'd use all of them till they were dented and broken.
Yeah, exactly. So like, I think yeah, this is it's that, like I said, first time I've seen lightsaber fights that fast, and obviously since then I've seen it in the animated stuff, video games and things of that nature, but not on. This was the first time I saw it on screen, and I was just like blown away by how dope that shit was, man.
Oh yeah, the only thing that comes kind of close with the speed is the Obi-Wan Darth Maul fight in Episode 1. It comes close to that, but this one.
You'll be seeing that scene in the future of the greatest scenes. That is
spoiler alert.
Yeah, that particular scene. Yes, that will you will see that on a future episode of the great scenes of all time.
It's like you just told a dirty joke.
So here we have Yoda. Obviously, we see what's about to happen. Like I said before we started watching this scene, I left the Yoda and Palpatine stuff in there because it's such a mirror that. It's one of the, like, when George was making this thing, right? Like, I thought this was one of the best things about it was that he mirrored those because they do parallel each other as far as narratively when it comes to, like, the rest of the Star Wars movies after this. Like, these things, like, mean something. So, like, seeing Yoda like this, when you see him in Return of the Jedi or Empire Strikes Back, like, you can, some of the stuff he says, you can, like, think, oh, I can tell why he might have a thought like this or whatever, because he actually, like, you know what I'm saying? And obviously, you know, we got to see him fire for the first time, see him fight with a lightsaber in Attack of the Clones, and it was dope. It was dope. That shit was dope. But I do just like this, like him showing up and just like telling Palpatine, "We're on to you, bro. Like you're
He's like, you're done, buddy. I don't know what you think you're gonna be doing, but you're done." And like I mentioned, we were watching the scene. There's a lot of movies nowadays that have CGI'd characters in them that don't look as good as this one does.
Oh man, dude!
Like this is, again, I'll emphasize, this is 2005.
Yes,
and the fact that this looks better than a lot of newer stuff that comes out today, hint hint, Marvel, is amazing. And again, it just shows you the type of visual effects pioneer that George Lucas has been throughout his entire career. He did amazing new fresh things with the original trilogy, then he tried new technology with the prequels. And with Yoda, again, like I mentioned before, even though it's aged a little bit, it still holds up to where you can believe at least somewhat that is Yoda standing there and saying these things and doing these things and fighting in that fight scene.
And also he's you know, which is his company, ILM, are at his disposal, and they're like so tight, like it's ridiculous. Or they were at that point in time. I think George has kind of moved on from making movies and things of that nature. But when he made these, like this is, look at, I mean, you could look at it and see. I mean, obviously, like I said, throughout the entire that scene with Palpatine, throughout the entire time, once they decided to make Yoda CG permanently, like fully CG. I think what looks even better than him is his garb, his robes, and all of that stuff looks so good. It just flows so freely. And make no mistake about it, they didn't. The robes and stuff are CG as well as Yoda is. There was no dangling stuff and you know, and adding Yoda in later. There's this all that stuff is,
And the texture of the robe is just insane to me, because they could have easily
Dude,
just
look
simply
at
had
the-
a
look-
flat
look here.
surface.
Look at here. There's the, you know what happens with old clothes once they start matting up, you get those lint balls and stuff. Look at that shit, man.
And
It
the
looks
lights
great.
reflecting off of it and all this. It's just insane that is not a real cloth.
Yes, it is. It is. It looks absolutely incredible. Also, you got your boy back there. That Yoda knocked out one of those guards. So let's move on to some. Let's see. Trying to get to, obviously, I remember I said, "Oh, dude bounces." He did. He got the hell out of there.
Yeah.
Once he hit Yoda with the lightning and stuff of that nature. Let's see. I don't know why this is funny, but it just is, just because Yoda's like,
oh, it's so funny. He's like,
wait, what'd you just say? Because he did, the Palpatine just delivered a line like, "My little green friend, like I just clapped you," and then Yoda's like, "Wait a minute."
he's like, talk crap you are?
Yeah. Yeah, he's about to get up. You know, we know what
Challenge
happens
from you,
after.
I heard.
Yeah. We know what happens after this.
And he's just literally staring at us like, hey, he just messed up by saying that.
Yeah, he is. Yo, I don't know why he looks like, this is when Yoda's putting the smack down on him.
Oh yeah.
To be
And
honest.
Palpatine's eyes in Revenge of the Sith are just so piercing. Like, it's insane.
Yeah.
Like, it's similar thing with every other performance or appearance that he has in the Star
Mhm.
Wars saga, but specifically in this movie, you just feel the evil oozing from him with his scars, with his eyes specifically. It's just it's very well done.
Even this right here, I always notice this from this particular movie. I mean, they're bad. It's on purpose. They made his nails look bad in the other movies,
Right.
But here is like when they look at him, man. They look disgusting, dude.
Oh yeah, and that's I actually heard a very interesting theory about this, and I don't know if it's been confirmed or not, but there's people are suggesting that when Palpatine was fighting Windu, he doesn't look like that because he was scarred from the lightning, but rather he wasn't strong enough to keep up the facade of covering up what he really looks like. People suggest that he looks like this originally, but he's using the Force to mask himself because the Force or the dark side ate away from all those years of using the dark side.
Yo, that's a dope. I hadn't heard that before. That's pretty fun.
That's my personal hand-canon, and no one can convince me otherwise.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna go with that because that sounds pretty. Yeah, that sounds pretty dope. All right, let's see. I'm trying to find this. I'll go. We'll go with this shot here just because when they get on this table here, I think this is some of the best choreography of the fight scene. There's a lot of kicks. There's a lot of when Anakin puts the lightsaber behind his back to block the shot. It's all just dope. And I think this right here like shows like they weren't just fighting with swords. Like there's some actual like extra shit that they put into
There was extra training that they got. Instead of just simply fighting with lightsabers or manipulating the Force, they were taught physical combat. And you even saw a little bit of that in the Obi-Wan Kenobi show where he had to sneak in and rescue Leia. He knew some moves to mess some people up without using a lightsaber.
Yes, he did. Indeed. Let's see. Let's see. I'll go with this one. You can't really see, Yoda and stuff. You can tell Palpatine. I do like this setting that they're fighting in. Obviously, we did get something that we'll talk about that. The Andor series. They're back here. I saw a shot here in this particular senators, or what do they call this?
I just know it's the council room for the senators.
Yes, the council room. Yes. So like them ending the fight between Yoda and Palpatine here was fire, dude. Like
it's literally in the center of the Empire.
Yes,
the deepest you can get into the Empire in the early stages of it before Coruscant, is no longer the headquarters of it. And it's just so interesting that he's just right in the thick of it.
Yes,
so freaking cool.
And obviously, look, there's nobody's there. It's just them two. Obviously, you have Palpatine has his goons and stuff like that. And I just thought this entire sequence, just them being there once it lowers down, and then like you actually, Palpatine's throwing the fucking, the senator boosts at him, and it's just it's dope, man. It's it's included in the bigger picture so well
Mhm.
that it's you know, you can't.
I just want one alien sitting in a booth in the background eating popcorn. I think
Yeah.
that'd be hilarious.
What-
Like
what-
the appearances of E.T. in
Oh
episode
yeah,
1. Have him sitting there like, good fight,
yeah.
lightsabers.
Yeah, this is it's an incredible scene. All right, let's move to this. Hold up, let's see.
Oh, that shot with Palpatine standing there with the booths around him.
Hold on, let's see. If I can get back on it.
Oh, that.
Yeah, this is actually pretty dope right here. It's pretty much the same scene we were talking about where he's throwing down the booths, and Yoda's dodging him or whatever, and then afterwards he finally gets to, you know, take one over and throw back at him. This is dope. Like I said, this entire sequence is well made. I think whenever George was, you know, if he's indeed, I mean, obviously he wrote the screenplay and stuff, but like whoever's idea was to come up with them fighting there, I just
Brilliant move. And the composition of this shot is just incredible. Like you have Yoda in the foreground looking up, and he's literally being looked down upon. He is the underdog in both size and position in the fight. And Palpatine is just relishing in this, basically saying to himself, I'm going to crush you with all these things that used to sustain you. Fill with people that used to sustain you as Guardians of the Republic.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to destroy you with it because you're nothing to me.
Which is also weirdly, I mean, I wouldn't say weirdly because it is probably written like that. It's also it's sort of a type of, because the next few scenes we're gonna see, Obi-Wan is standing at the top looking down at Anakin, and it's the same type of situation where, you know, obviously Obi-Wan says, don't try it, because I have the high ground or whatever. And I think, and I hate to say it, but I think Yoda, he gets to a point where he realizes I've been defeated.
Yeah.
I'm not going to try it because, you know what I'm saying? Palpatine has a high ground. This scene in particular, this is just a quick screen grab just from that. Once the lava starts pouring over and obviously they've knocked the shields down, this is absolutely incredible. I do like the way that, like, if you've ever seen the behind the scenes of this fight scene, it's so fucking dope, man. Just because, like, everything is planned out ahead of time, and they were like, the stunt people were like, George would tell us he wants this, and he'll be like, the space you have to make this fight scene is this, and it's when they're lightsaber fighting before this up like a little hallway, and it's so dope to see how they were able to adapt the fact that they only had this bit of room to like the fight scene. And so for this one, it's dope because it's just like they're on this spear, which is getting hit by lava. It's just going to collapse because, there's no more shields. And they have to move up the spear while being cognizant, both of them, of the lava. They also have to be cognizant of themselves because,
And I love how you pointed out at the beginning of this video how Obi-Wan's garb slowly gets dirtier and dirtier and like burnt up a little bit. And it's more obvious on his suit because, of course, he has a lighter tan look. And then you see it at the end when he's with Padme and everything, just how much crap he's been through. They could have been super lazy and just like spray painted a little bit of like brown on it and be like,
no, dude, they had like 15 different suits. He just, you know what I mean? Depending on what stage in the fight they were in, they literally put on a different costume and stuff.
Meticulous.
Yes, that's why it seems dope, man. Let's see.
Oh,
I do like this shot because it's just dope. It's Anakin and pretty much in his full glory. Obviously, he's turned to the dark side, but it's still the last, pretty much like the last like full shot of Anakin you get before the transformation occurs. As far as when he, when him and Obi-Wan have their final confrontation, like right here that we're about to look at in a minute.
And the fumes from the lava behind him, like I just love the location of the fight so freaking much. The location is half of the amazing epicness of the battle.
Yes,
like the lighting, the fact that it becomes the place where Darth Vader has his castle at.
Well, he's chills at now because his legs are just out there. So
it's the perfect place to have this fight and to match the music, like you mentioned, the intensity. The intensity of the amount of lava on this planet perfectly matches the intensity of the moment. And it was just brilliant.
Yes, it is. It is. And so I do like this shot. Let's see. Keep going, keep going. I'm trying to get to a good. Oh, here we go. So obviously we know what we just watched the scene, so we know pretty much what takes place right before this. Obviously, they were gonna show that Obi-Wan did pick up Anakin's lightsaber because you have to, because it shows up in episode 4, so there has to be like some backstory there. But we were talking beforehand, before we even watched it, about like the pure brutality of this. Like it was like no matter what you might have thought why Vader was the way he was in A New Hope, you didn't imagine that George was going to take it to this level. Literally chopped him up. And I remember thinking how brutal it was, and also how fire that was, that he actually took it to that level, man. Yeah.
Both literally and figuratively, you know. And just, I love the fact that it's so many different emotions happening at once. Anakin, of course, now just straight up hates Obi-Wan Kenobi because he's literally destroyed him physically, and he's giving into the dark side. But you also see him occasionally reach up for him.
Yes.
So the last parts of Anakin reaching up, saying like, look, help me. Please, I'm dying here. Help me. And it just shows you, again, kind of like in that one moment in the Obi-Wan Kenobi show when his mask is cut, how there's still a teeny bit of him in there. Yeah. And it, of course, that hints into what happens in Return of the Jedi and the original trilogy, how there's still parts of him in there, regardless of the fact that he's literally gone to as low as you can get. I mean, the point where Anakin's at, he's just finished killing children and people of a trade federation. He just finished fighting his friend. He had his limbs chopped off. He was burnt to a crisp. He's barely alive. He's saying as low as you could, both morally and physically, below anything anyone can do.
Yeah.
And yet there's still good in him.
Yes.
Which is crazy. And it just it kind of shows you the fact that there's at least some good in everybody. It's like George Lucas says, it's like poetry. It rhymes. It's similar to a lot of people. People can go through some of the nastiest, terrible crap in their lives and still have a good heart.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's 1000% true, man. And like obviously we see what happens after this. You know, he Obi-Wan grabs the lightsaber, like I was just saying, and then they have a little conversation. He said you were supposed to be it's supposed to be the chosen one, and not leave it in darkness or whatever. And obviously you see Obi-Wan or Anakin here with the eyes. The eyes really start to fucking form out here for you, which is. And
I love the shot where you see it happening as soon as it like settles the bottom of the hill, and you see it just slowly just like form, where it gets red on the outside, yellow. It's just and just can't even look. Like you mentioned, you can't watch it because that's basically his son.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, and also you can't forget the promise he made to Qui-Gon in episode 1. He said, I need you to train the boy, and he said, I promise I'll do that. So and this is obviously we know what ultimately happens with Darth Vader, but this is the immediate results of said training. You know what I mean? And look. As we see here, you got Anakin here, and obviously, we watched the scene. He's gonna catch fire, and like you just said, that low physically and mentally, the lowest points he could get to. I think that is absolute fire storytelling, and yeah, man, it's one of the greatest scenes of all time, dude.
And what's crazy about this too is you look at Anakin's face; he's got sweat, but like you look underneath his nose. It's almost like the snot coming out, which makes sense because he just had freaking limbs sliced off.
Yeah.
Like if you get hit hard in football, I mean, both you and I. Yes. If you get hit hard in football, snot comes flying out. So if you have limbs just straight up sliced off of you, like it doesn't matter what's coming out of you. Everything's coming out of you because you're both crying. You got snot coming out. Like there's genuine pain in everything about his face right now.
Yeah, man. So yeah, this is that's one of the greatest scenes of all time, ladies and gentlemen. Man, such an intense, emotional type deal. You know what I'm saying? Like we've already mentioned it several times before. It's just that the amount of weight that this in the entire saga, if you're going to include the 9 movies and you got Solo and Rogue One and things of that nature, include everything in there. The emotional weight that this particular, like, what is this? It's what, almost 14 minutes holds in the entire saga. It's right up there with Luke blowing up the Death Star at the end of The New Hope. It's right up there with what happens at the end of Return of the Jedi. It just, you know what I'm saying? Like, it holds that much weight. It's right up there with, I think, even just the hug between Jyn Erso and oh shit, I just lost his name.
Andor.
Andor at the end of Rogue One, you know that because you know they're gonna die, and it's like emotional, but you know what they've done, the impact of what. So like this was, I think this holds a lot more than a lot of the other ones, just because, like I said earlier, you had to bridge this gap, man. There was Return of the Jedi came out in 1983, and people were so used to what happened in that movie, or New Hope came out in 77, and people were so used to that too, that you're like, how do you like make these 2 trilogies mesh? Perfectly done here. Perfectly done, man.
And I gotta say, when it comes to, like, there was a promotional poster for this movie that showed Anakin, and his cape was furled up in the shape of the Darth Vader helmet. Like, if you're gonna have a poster that fire and that foreboding, you have to have a scene like this in order to capitalize on that.
Yes.
And gosh dang it, it did.
Yes, it did. It did. It lived up to the hype, man. I remember when I did see this movie, finally saw it. It was probably a couple weeks after release, and I saw it in theaters. And when it got to this point, I was like, man, that's everything I could have hoped for. You know what I mean? Like, this answers the question of why there's this animosity between the 2 characters in A New Hope, man. And also, speaking of posters, I one of the best posters I've ever seen. Episode 1 poster when young Jake Lloyd is in the desert, and his shadow is Darth Vader. That's genius. I'm just go ahead. We're not talking about that movie right now, but that is pure. That, like, he's got his hands on his backpack, and then just in the background, the shadow is Darth Vader.
And Revenge of the Sith perfectly capitalizes on that foreshadowing. Like, it's just the most beautiful way. This movie solidified the tragedy that Anakin Skywalker is.
Yes.
Like, in the original trilogy, you understood, like, okay, he was a Jedi, he turned to the dark side, like, he got messed up somehow, but you didn't fully comprehend until you saw him as a young boy.
Yes.
And then see his journey to just being brutally destroyed physically and destroying his own life through his own actions, through his own desperation to save the one that he loves.
Yeah.
You don't have the weight of the tragedy without Revenge of the Sith, or even the prequel trilogy in general.
Yeah, no, you don't. And also, this was also one of the things that changed my thoughts about Star Wars, is at least the original trilogy and the prequels, like those first 6 movies. It's a Darth Vader story. It's not a Luke Skywalker or whoever. All these other characters, like, if you look at the first 6 movies, what's the constant there? Pretty much Obi-Wan, but then, obviously in A New Hope, what happens to Obi-Wan. Yeah. But Darth Vader is the dude that's there. Anakin Skywalker is there from movie 1 to movie 6. So, and also sprinkled in throughout the sequel trilogy as well. So that's that. And so I look at this as a Darth Vader story in its entirety. And so look, there's a reason why we chose to watch this, because the fight, this is one of the best, not just lightsabers in Star Wars, one of the best fight scenes I've ever seen. If you consider the emotional gravity that goes with it, it's not just, you might say, oh, you know what, that scene was dope in John Wick, he was clapping on some cats, but there's not an emotional weight to it. There's not 2 people who love each other who are fighting,
and there's not 30 years of buildup for that too. Like, that's the thing, the decades of buildup to that moment to figure out what happened. What caused this iconic character in pop culture to be the way that he is. And again, like you said, there's a lot of stress that comes with that.
Yeah.
But they pulled it off nonetheless.
Yes. So real quick before we get out of here, shouts out George Lucas for being able to pull this off. I do know, like, I've seen a lot of documentaries and stuff, so I know, like, the things he went through, first off making the original trilogy, but then, like, coming back to do the prequel trilogy as well. And I think, people like to fault him for a lot of stuff in the prequel trilogy, but if there's one thing that I know he absolutely knocked out of the park was this fight between Obi-Wan and Anakin, because of what it means to the entire franchise, period. So, Dawson, I appreciate you coming on here. Great, joining me for one of the greatest scenes of all time. And, tell everybody where we can find you, man.
Absolutely. You can find me on Twitter at NIMW32, as well as on Instagram at DJW32Art, as well as on TikTok. And because, shameless self-plugging, you can also find me this weekend at Big Lick Comic-Con in Roanoke, Virginia, at my art table. So if you're in the Virginia area and you have a day to get tickets, I guess, go and check it out. And hopefully I see you there.
Nice. I'll be there as well.
Yeah, they'll be there too.
So, I appreciate you guys. Anybody who, if you watch this episode of the greatest scenes of all time, we appreciate it. We'll see you guys next time, man, for another one of the greatest scenes of all time.